Chapter 1. The Discovery. The planet of Kvarl had always been a mystery, wrapped in secrecy and avoided by many. Its dense jungles, thick with unknown flora and fauna, hid a plethora of dangers that no one cared to understand, much less study. Even the bravest of explorers, those who dared to chart the wildest, most dangerous planets in the galaxy, knew better than to venture too deep into the heart of Kvarl's wilderness. The planet's coordinates were often omitted from most star maps, a glaring absence that indicated its forbidding reputation. To the people of the galaxy, it was nothing more than a backwater world, a place where few ships ever ventured and fewer still returned. It had an eerie reputation, and that reputation was enough to keep even the most daring spacefarers away. Kvarl had been forgotten by time, or so everyone thought. Its lands were only ever glimpsed by the few explorers who could afford the risk, and most of those never came back to tell their tales. What was known about the planet was only passed on through rumors, whispers of strange creatures, ancient, forgotten technologies, and a curse that had wiped out the ancient civilizations that once lived there. But I, however, was not some ordinary spacefarer. I wasn't an explorer or some bold adventurer seeking treasure in the unknown. I was a mechanic, a practical man who'd always preferred the safety of structured, regulated environments. I made a living fixing ships, engines, and any piece of machinery that could be dismantled and rebuilt. My profession had given me a life far removed from the kind of danger that explored new worlds or mapped out mysterious stars. The galaxy, in all its vastness, was a machine to me, one that could be understood, dissected, and repaired when broken. But that all changed one fateful day. My ship, the Solace, had been carrying out a routine cargo run from the Ilan trade routes when I first encountered the malfunction. It was nothing big, a minor engine glitch, I thought. An issue that could be fixed quickly with a standard diagnostic. But as the ship drifted through the Kvarl system, the glitch worsened in electrical short that couldn't be traced, a failing fuel system that refused to correct itself, and a hull temperature spike that had no logical explanation. At first, I chalked it up to standard wear and tear. Ships aged, engines failed, and cargo runs were hardly ever smooth. But when the Solace lurched violently, spinning out of control as alarms blared in every corner of the cockpit, I realized that this wasn't a simple glitch. It was a full-on catastrophe. The malfunction that started as a minor issue quickly escalated into a full-blown emergency, and before I knew it, I was plummeting toward the planet Kvarlan unfamiliar world of swirling green clouds and endless stretches of thick forest. The coordinates had brought me to its orbit on accident, but now, I was there, and I was stuck. With no power, no functional comm systems, and only a few minutes of fuel left in the tank, I had little choice but to attempt a crash landing. The ship groaned under the strain of atmospheric entry, each twist and turn threatening to tear apart the fragile vessel I relied on for survival. I had no idea what lay beneath the dense cover of Kvarl's jungle, but whatever it was, I was certain it wouldn't be kind to someone like me, someone who had no business being there. The flames that licked the hull as I descended were a constant reminder that I was at the mercy of the planet, and with every passing second, the ground drew closer. My hands tightened on the controls, steering the Solace as best I could, praying I could find a patch of open ground before the inevitable impact. Then, as suddenly as it began, the ship jerked violently, the ground rushing up to meet me with an overwhelming finality. I braced myself for the crash, expecting a deafening roar, the twisting of metal and the shattering of glass. But instead, there was only a sharp, sickening crack, the feeling of weightlessness as the ship hit the forest floor. Everything went dark. When I regained consciousness, the ship was silent, the only sound the hum of damaged systems trying to restart. I was alive, miraculously so, but the crash had left me disoriented. My head throbbed, my limbs were stiff, and my breath came in shallow gasps. The cockpit was a mess, smoke curling up from the broken consoles, alarms blinking erratically, and the acrid smell of burnt wires filling the air. I tried to move, but found that my body refused to obey, each attempt sending a wave of nausea through me. Somehow, I managed to gather the strength to pull myself from the wreckage and stumbled out into the wild world outside. The air was thick, heavy with moisture, and the sounds of the jungle swarmed around me like an invisible, living thing. There was a sense of urgency in the air, the kind that gnawed at the edge of your consciousness, telling you that you were in a place where you didn't belong. But I couldn't afford to be scared. I was alive, and that was enough for now. I staggered through the dense underbrush, using what little strength I had left to move toward what looked like a clearing in the distance. The ship's systems had failed completely, and there was no hope of communication until I could get a proper fix on the damage. I would need to find shelter, food, and supplies before anything else. But there was something else, the primal instinct that tugged at me, warning me that this place was not meant to be discovered. I had crashed here, uninvited, and something in the air told me that it would not take kindly to an outsider. As I made my way through the thick vines and towering trees, I heard something, a faint, almost inaudible sound. It was a rustling, a movement, but not from any animal I had ever known. I stopped in my tracks, every nerve on alert. My pulse quickened, and I instinctively reached for the emergency blaster holstered at my side, but it was gone. The crash had thrown everything out of place, and now I was left vulnerable. The noise came again, louder this time. It was unmistakable footsteps, soft but deliberate, moving through the thick brush. My heart raced, my breath shallow. Whoever or whatever was out there was close. The sound of leaves crunching beneath footsteps told me I was being watched, that I wasn't alone. But what emerged from the shadows of the trees made my blood run cold. Two figures appeared from the dense jungle, and for a moment, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. But no, these were no illusions. The beings that stood before me were humanoid but not human tall, with skin that shimmered with a metallic sheen, their features ethereal, almost otherworldly. They had long, flowing hair that looked like liquid silver, eyes glowing with a vibrant, otherworldly hue. And then there were the most disorienting details. They were twins, identical in every way, but there was something about them that felt unnatural, as though they weren't supposed to be seen by someone like me. The malevolent energy that radiated from them was palpable, like a storm building just beyond the horizon. They didn't speak immediately, their eyes scanning me, taking in my disheveled appearance with cool detachment. I had no idea what they were or what they wanted, but the instinct in my gut told me that I had made a grave mistake by being here. "Why are you here?" one of them asked, her voice melodic but cold, like the sound of ice cracking underfoot. "I didn't mean to," I stammered, backing away slowly, trying to keep my distance. "I crashed. My ship dash." "You should not have come," the other twin interrupted, her voice as chilling as the first. "This place is not for you. You were not meant to see us." My breath caught in my throat. It was as if they were condemning me just by acknowledging my presence. "Please," I managed to say, trying to collect myself. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need help. My ship's wrecked. I can't dash." "You have seen us," they said in unison, their voices weaving together like the wind between trees. "And now your fate is sealed." Before I could protest, before I could even understand what was happening, the world around me seemed to warp, the trees, the sky, and the very air pulsing with an unnatural energy. The twins stepped forward, their eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that cut to my very core. "You were never meant to find this place," they said, their voices synchronized. "But now that you have, there is no turning back." The jungle seemed to close in around me, the shadows growing darker, the ground shifting beneath my feet. The twins' gaze never wavered, their power, their presence, a force I had no way of understanding. And as their eyes bore into mine, I knew something irrevocable had just happened. My fate was sealed, and there was no escape. I had barely had time to process their words when everything around me seemed to distort. The air shimmered with an energy so powerful that it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The jungle, once a thick labyrinth of vines and trees, now felt like it was closing in on me, the shadows stretching unnaturally as though they were alive. My mind raced as the twins' voices, cold and almost ethereal, echoed around me in a dissonant harmony. They were right. I was never supposed to be here, and now I could feel the weight of that truth like a heavy, suffocating blanket wrapping around me. I had stumbled into something far greater than I could have ever imagined, a place that was neither meant for humans nor anyone who was uninvited. I tried to take a step back, but the ground beneath me shifted, as though the earth itself was rejecting my presence. It felt as though an invisible barrier surrounded me, preventing me from moving forward or backward. Panic surged through me. The twins stood before me, silent, their eyes still locked on mine, glowing with an intensity that was both beautiful and terrifying. I had no idea who or what they were, but I was sure of one thing. They weren't just people. They were something else entirely, something that had been waiting for an outsider like me to wander too close. "Please," I said, my voice trembling, though I tried to keep my fear in check. "I don't understand. I didn't mean to come here. I crashed. I just need help." The twins exchanged a glance, their expressions unreadable, but I could feel the weight of their decision. One of them took a step forward, and I instinctively took a step back. The space between us seemed to contract with each passing second, the air thickening with an almost suffocating pressure. "You should not have seen us," she said again, her voice a strange mixture of sadness and cold certainty. "Now that you have, there are only two paths that await you. You can join us, or you will be erased from the fabric of this world." I swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling heavily in my stomach. "Erased," I repeated, my voice a whisper. The word felt wrong on my tongue, too final, too absolute. I wasn't sure what they meant, but I knew one thing: whatever was happening, I was no longer in control. I had fallen into a situation I didn't understand, a situation where I was powerless. I don't want any trouble. I just need help. My ship dash. "The ship will not save you," the other twin interrupted, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. "The ship is nothing but a distraction. The crash was no accident. You were chosen to see us. You were chosen to enter this place. And now, you will be part of it." I felt a cold shiver crawl down my spine, and for a moment, everything in the world outside of the twins seemed to blur and fade. The thick jungle, the wreckage of my ship, the sound of the distant winds, all of it seemed to dissolve, leaving only the two figures before me. Their presence was overwhelming, as though their very being defied the natural laws of the universe. They weren't just twins. They were something older, something ancient that I couldn't possibly begin to comprehend. "We didn't mean to be seen," the first twin said, her voice softening for just a moment. "But now that you have, everything changes." I didn't know what to say. I was a mechanic, a man who spent his life fixing things and making sure systems worked. Nothing ever this complicated, nothing ever like this. The fear that had been steadily building inside me began to swell into a kind of numbness. I had no idea what I was facing, and I was terrified. These creatures, these beings, weren't like anything I had ever encountered. They were beyond me in ways I couldn't explain. "Please," I said, desperation creeping into my voice. "What do you want from me? I don't know anything about your world, about who you are. Just let me leave. I won't tell anyone what I saw. I won't say a word." The twins exchanged a long, silent glance, as though they were communicating in ways I couldn't understand. Then, without warning, they both took a step forward. The world seemed to grow darker, the trees around us shifting as if they were alive, their branches stretching toward us like reaching hands. "Leaving is not an option," one of them spoke, her words almost a whisper, but the authority in her voice made me freeze. "You are already part of this world now. You cannot simply walk away." The other twin nodded in agreement. "Your fate was sealed the moment you laid eyes on us. There is no undoing it. There is only one way forward." I took a shaky step back, trying to make sense of what was happening. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think straight. My head spun with a million conflicting thoughts, and yet none of them seemed to matter. There was no escape, no way to fix this. I was caught in something far beyond my understanding, a cosmic web that had been set in motion long before I ever entered the jungle of Kvarl. "But what do you want?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why me?" The twins looked at me with what could almost be interpreted as pity, though their expressions remained unreadable. "Because you are the one who will carry it," one of them said, her voice quieter now, as if sharing a secret. "You will carry the power that can reshape this world or destroy it." The words hit me like a bolt of lightning. My stomach twisted, and for the first time in my life, I felt a sense of true dread. I didn't understand what they meant by power, what role I played in all of this. But I could sense it. There was something inside me now, something that the twins saw, and something they had given me without my consent. The other twin stepped closer. "You have seen us. You cannot leave without knowing the truth." The air seemed to thrum with energy, and I felt it deep in my bones, in the marrow of my body. I wasn't just caught in a trap. I wasn't just an observer of an alien world. I was part of it, a cog in a larger machine that I had no way of understanding. The weight of it pressed down on me, and I had no idea what would come next. Then, without warning, the world around me shifted once again. The jungle seemed to bend, the trees growing taller, and the ground beneath my feet felt like it was pulling me deeper into the planet's soil. I had no time to react before a powerful force overwhelmed me, and everything went black. Chapter 2. The Power Within. When I awoke, I was no longer in the jungle. The first thing I noticed was the stillness. There was no rustling of leaves, no distant sounds of creatures calling out in the dark. Everything was silent, unnaturally so. My body felt strangely heavy, and when I tried to sit up, I found that I was no longer lying on the forest floor. Instead, I was on a smooth, cold surface, and the world around me was no longer the dense, oppressive jungle of Kvarl. I was surrounded by towering walls of what appeared to be crystalline structures, their surfaces shimmering with an otherworldly light. I tried to stand, but my legs wobbled beneath me, as though the strength had been drained from them. I looked around in confusion, my mind still hazy from the overwhelming sensations that had hit me just moments before. What had happened? Where was I? And then I saw them, the twins. They were standing in front of me, their presence as commanding as before, their eyes still glowing with that unnatural light. "You are awake," one of them said, her voice softer now, though still filled with an eerie sense of calm. "You've been chosen, Jonathan Harris. Chosen to carry the power that we have given you." I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. My throat was dry, and my mind was racing, trying to catch up to the reality of the situation. "Chosen for what?" I managed to croak. "To carry the burden," the other twin answered, her voice a strange mix of sympathy and solemnity. "The power that you have seen is the power of our kind, the energy that flows through this planet, through all worlds. But it is not something that can be wielded without consequence. And now, you must decide, will you accept it, or will you let it consume you?" I felt a shiver run down my spine. What was she talking about? What energy? I had no power, no abilities. I was just a man, a mechanic, a survivor of a crash landing. And yet, here I was, standing in the heart of an alien world, being told that I was carrying some ancient, powerful force. What happens if I don't accept? I asked, barely able to force the words past the lump in my throat. The twins shared a long, unreadable look. "Then your fate is sealed," they said in unison. "You will be consumed by it, as so many others have been." The weight of their words pressed on me, and I felt my body tremble. There was no choice, it seemed. I was already part of this world. There was no going back. The twins stood before me, their expressions cold yet oddly compassionate. It was as if they understood the fear and confusion raging inside me, and yet, in the same breath, it seemed they had already made their decision for me. This power, the one they claimed I was carrying, was no longer just an abstract concept. The feeling in the air was palpable, an almost electrical charge that seemed to hum around me, vibrating through the very core of my being. I could feel it, deep inside, like a weight pressing against my chest, urging me to accept it, to let it flow through me. It was a strange sensation, unsettling in its intensity, as though something was awakening within me that I couldn't control. "Do not fear it," one of the twins said, her voice soft but firm. "This is your destiny now. You cannot deny it, nor can you escape from it." I looked at them, my heart pounding in my chest. "Destiny? What do you mean by that? What power are you talking about? I'm just a mechanic. I don't even know what's happening to me." The twin on the left, her glowing eyes fixed on me with an unsettling calm, took a step forward. Her movements were fluid, almost ethereal, as if she was in perfect harmony with the environment around her. "This planet, Kvarl, is ancient. It has been a place of power for eons. And in its depths, it holds the energy of creation, a force that predates civilizations, a power so potent that it can change the very fabric of reality itself. You, Jonathan Harris, have been chosen to carry that power." Her words were like a slow-burning fire in my mind. She spoke as if everything that had led to this moment was preordained, as though my entire life had been a path leading up to this point. And despite my confusion, I couldn't deny that something within me stirred, a sense of inevitability, a feeling that I was bound to this place and to these beings, whether I understood it or not. "But why me?" I asked again, my voice trembling despite my efforts to remain calm. "Why would you choose me? I'm just a man, stranded on your planet by accident. I have no idea what's going on here." "You are not just any man," the other twin replied, her tone sharper, more insistent. "You are one of the last of your kind who still carries the ancient bloodline. The humans, your species, were once connected to the energies of this world, just as we were. Long ago, your people were allies, partners in harnessing the power that flows through Kvarl. But over time, you became disconnected, lost to the stars, with no memory of your true potential. You are the key to unlocking the power that has been dormant for centuries. My head spun with the weight of her words. Bloodlines, ancient alliances. It was all so much to take in, and I struggled to comprehend it. The twins, with their glowing eyes and alien presence, were revealing something that had been hidden from me, something that had been hidden from humanity itself. There was no way I could process it all at once. It felt like my very existence was being turned upside down. I don't understand, I said, my voice cracking under the strain of trying to grasp the enormity of what they were saying. You're saying that I have some ancient power? That I'm connected to this place in some way? The first twin nodded slowly. Yes, you were meant to carry the energy, to harness it, to use it to restore the balance that was lost when your ancestors abandoned Kvarl. But you are not ready yet. The energy inside you is dormant, untapped. If you choose to accept it, you will be bound to this planet. You will have access to the power that can reshape everything. But with that power comes great responsibility and great danger. The Azari will stop at nothing to take what belongs to you. I shuddered at the mention of the Azari. The name had already struck fear into me, but now it had a far deeper meaning. The idea that I was connected to something that the Azari were hunting only added to the weight pressing down on my chest. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It wasn't about getting back to my ship and escaping. No, I was part of something far larger, something far more dangerous. What do I have to do? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't fear that made my words falter, it was the realization that I might not have a choice in this. Whether I was ready or not, this power was inside me now, and the universe was coming for it. You must decide, the second twin said. If you accept the power, you will gain the strength to protect yourself, to defend Kvarl, and to ensure that the Azari never claim what is ours. You will also awaken memories from your past, from your ancestors, and you will see the true nature of the power that resides within you. But if you refuse, the Azari will take you. They will take what they want, and there will be no escape. There is no middle ground, no turning back. The weight of her words crashed down on me, and I felt an intense pressure in my mind, as though something was trying to break through the barriers I had spent my life building. The power they spoke of was real, and it was mine, whether I understood it or not. But what choice did I have? To accept this power was to become part of something ancient, something dangerous. But to reject it was to invite certain destruction. The Azari were coming, and they would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. I don't want to be part of this, I said, the words slipping from my mouth before I could stop them. I just want to go home. I want to go back to my life. The twins' eyes softened, though there was no pity in them, only understanding. You cannot go back, the first twin said quietly. The moment you saw us, your fate was sealed. You were chosen, and now you must choose whether you will accept your destiny or allow it to consume you. A chill ran down my spine as I understood the gravity of what they were saying. There was no going back. I was already part of their world, part of something far beyond my comprehension, and I couldn't just walk away from it. The universe had chosen me for something, and whether I wanted it or not, I was about to become something more than a mere mechanic. I don't know if I'm ready, I muttered, the words barely audible. You will be, the second twin said firmly. You will be ready when the time comes. But you must decide now. The Azari will not wait. I stood there, torn between fear and the pull of something greater, something ancient that whispered to me in the deepest parts of my soul. The jungle around me seemed to pulse with the energy of the planet, the very air alive with the potential of what could be. I knew in that moment that I had no choice but to accept the path laid out before me. Whether I was ready or not, whether I understood it or not, this was my fate. I had been chosen to carry a power that could change everything, and now, there was no turning back. All right, I said, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me. I'll do it. I accept. The twins nodded, their eyes glowing brighter, as if in approval. The moment I spoke those words, I felt a surge of energy pulse through me, like a river breaking through a dam. It flooded my body, rushing through every vein, filling every corner of my mind. The sensation was overwhelming, like a fire igniting within me, burning away everything I had known about myself. The memories began to flood in, visions of distant places, of forgotten worlds, of power long lost to time. I could see it all, feel it all, as if it were part of me. It was terrifying, exhilarating, and it left me breathless, staggering under the weight of it. "You are ready," the first twin said, her voice a whisper in the now quiet jungle. "Now, you must prepare for what comes next. The Azari will come for you. They will come for the power you carry." I could feel the energy within me, alive and raw. The path ahead was unclear, but I knew one thing for certain. I had been irrevocably changed. The universe had opened up before me, and there was no turning back. Chapter 3: The Azari's Pursuit. The moment I accepted the power, the world around me seemed to shift. The jungle no longer felt like a place I was merely visiting, it was alive, a part of me now, breathing in unison with the energy that thrummed through my veins. I could feel the ground beneath my feet, the air in my lungs, and even the way the wind moved through the trees. Every single detail, once insignificant, now felt alive with potential, as though the entire universe was connected in a delicate, fragile web that I could now sense, if only faintly. But that power came at a cost. I had barely begun to understand the force that flowed through me when I heard them. The Azari. Their presence wasn't felt through the rustle of leaves or the wind, no. It was something deeper, something primal, as though the very essence of the planet itself was responding to them, preparing for their arrival. The twins Alara and her sister, Alira, had warned me that they would come, but nothing could have prepared me for the sheer weight of their threat. "You felt it," Alara said, her voice cutting through the silence of the dense jungle, pulling me back to reality. "They are closing in. We don't have much time." I glanced at the twins, who were standing side by side, their expressions unreadable yet filled with an undeniable intensity. Their eyes burned with the same fire that now coursed through me, and it was clear that their knowledge of the Azari was far deeper than I had anticipated. The Azari weren't just an enemy, they were an unstoppable force, a relentless power that sought only one thing: control over the ancient energy that I now carried inside me. "What do I need to do?" I asked, my voice strained, still not fully able to grasp the magnitude of the situation. "How do we stop them?" "You cannot stop them," Alira said, her tone as cold as ice. "They will come, and they will take what they want. But you can fight. You can survive." "Survive?" I repeated, my mind racing. I had no idea how to fight back against something so powerful, so overwhelming. All I knew was that I was a mechanic, a man who fixed ships and machines, not a soldier. And yet, somehow, I had been thrust into a battle for my life and the future of Kvarl. "You have to learn to wield the energy within you," Alara said. "You are the last of your kind who can. If you don't, the Azari will tear this world apart to get what they want." The urgency in her voice pierced through the fog of uncertainty clouding my mind. I had to act. I had to embrace this power, whether I was ready or not, because the Azari were coming, and if I didn't do something soon, they would destroy everything I had just begun to understand. I closed my eyes, focusing on the energy inside me, the strange, pulsing force that had awakened when I accepted it. It was vast, endless, and yet it felt like it was a part of me. I could feel its warmth, its intensity, and its potential, but I could also feel its danger. This power was as volatile as it was potent, and I had no idea how to control it. It was like holding a star in the palm of my hand, a star that could burn everything to ash if I wasn't careful. "How do I control it?" I asked, my voice almost a whisper. "How do I make it work for me?" "You don't control it," Alira said, her voice firm. "You allow it to flow through you. You must become one with it. The Azari will try to take it from you, but they won't succeed. You are the key to everything. You must believe in yourself." Her words resonated in my mind like a distant drumbeat, echoing with the weight of something ancient. The Azari wanted the power inside me, but they didn't understand it. They thought they could control it, possess it. But I was the one who could wield it. I was the one who could decide its fate. And in that moment, a strange sense of clarity washed over me. I was no longer just a man stranded on an alien planet. I was something more now. I was the key to this world's future, and it was my responsibility to protect it. But I wasn't alone in this fight. Alara and Alira stood beside me, their unwavering presence giving me strength. They had been through this before, this battle between light and dark, between creation and destruction. And they had survived. I would too, if I embraced the power inside me and fought for my life, for Kvarl, and for the future of all the worlds that were at stake. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath my feet, and the air grew heavy with a dark energy, an almost suffocating presence that signaled their arrival. The Azari were here. I turned to the twins. What do we do now? Now we fight, Alara said, her voice resolute. Now we survive. Chapter 4. The Final Confrontation. The jungle around us grew still, the air thick with anticipation as the Azari's presence grew nearer. The atmosphere felt charged, alive with a tension I could almost taste. The twins were already moving, their eyes scanning the surroundings, alert to every sound, every movement. They were prepared for this, but I was not. I was still learning, still trying to figure out how to use the power that had been thrust upon me. And now, with the Azari closing in, I knew there was no more time for hesitation. I had to act. I stood beside Alara and Elira, their presence reassuring, and yet, beneath that reassurance was the cold reality that we were facing an enemy unlike any I had encountered before. The Azari were ruthless, merciless in their pursuit of power, and if they got their hands on me, it would be the end of everything. There would be no second chance, no escape. Suddenly, the trees ahead parted, and I saw them, the Azari. Their sleek, black exosuits gleamed in the dim light, their faces hidden behind dark visors, their weapons drawn and ready. They moved as one, a single, cohesive unit, their movements sharp and precise. They were here to take what they had come for, and they would stop at nothing to get it. Jonathan Harris, the leader of the Azari, said, his voice cold and commanding, even from a distance. We've come for what is ours. Surrender now, and we will spare your life. I clenched my fists, feeling the power inside me surge, the energy pulsing with an intensity that threatened to overwhelm me. This was at the moment I had been waiting for. I wasn't just a bystander anymore. I was part of this world, part of this fight. And I wasn't going to let them take what was mine without a fight. I won't surrender, I said, my voice steady, despite the fear that gnawed at my insides. I won't let you take it. The Azari leader smirked beneath his visor. Fool, you have no idea what you're dealing with. And then they attacked. The ground beneath our feet shook as the Azari charged forward, their weapons crackling with energy, their movements fast and deadly. But I was ready. I could feel the power surging through me, the energy flowing like liquid fire through my veins. The moment they advanced, I unleashed it. My hands shot out, and the air around us seemed to bend and warp, as if the very fabric of reality was reacting to the energy I was channeling. It was raw, untamed, and unlike anything I had ever felt before. The first Azari soldier who came at me was sent flying back, his body slamming against a nearby tree with a sickening thud. The others hesitated, momentarily stunned by the force of my attack. The twins, sensing the shift in the battle, moved with precision, their powers augmenting mine as they coordinated their strikes against the Azari. Together, we were a force that even they couldn't match. But it wasn't enough. The Azari regrouped quickly, their weapons firing in unison, forcing us to retreat into the jungle. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I could feel the energy pulsing within me, driving me forward, and as I focused, I realized that I had learned to control it. It was no longer something to fear, it was something I could wield, something that was a part of me. With a surge of power, I released the full force of the energy within me, and the ground beneath the Azari cracked, a violent shockwave that sent them sprawling backward. I could feel their resistance, their determination to take what they wanted, but it was futile. The energy responded to me now, and I controlled it. The Azari leader stood back, his posture stiff, his voice tinged with frustration. Impossible, he muttered, his tone filled with disbelief. This should not be. You're right, I said, my voice cold with resolve. It shouldn't be, but it is. With a final push, I unleashed everything the twins had helped me unlock. The Azari were overwhelmed, their weapons useless against the raw power I controlled. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't just fighting for my life. I was fighting for everything Kvarl stood for the future of the galaxy, and for the power that had been hidden from humanity for eons. The Azari leader fell to his knees, defeated. No, this cannot be. You are the key. I stood there, panting, my body trembling from the sheer force of what I had just unleashed. But as I looked down at the defeated enemy, I knew that this battle was just the beginning. There was much more to uncover, more to fight for, but for now, I had won. And with the twins by my side, I would protect the power within me. Kvarl had chosen me, and now, I would protect it with everything I had.